next recipe here. And we are going to be working with some poultry, which for food safety is always a fun topic to talk about, right? So when working with chicken, there is a risk of salmonella, right? I don't want to scare anyone off, by the way, because chicken's a great protein to work with. You just want to work with it safely, that's all. So the first thing is to remove as much clutter as possible when working with your chicken. You don't want it to be accidentally touching anything and then you forget to clean that spot, and you can spread bacteria that way. Second thing to remember is, this has changed only within the last maybe few years or so, do not wash your chicken. I know some people will argue with me on that point. I know some people in my family still argue with me on that point. But do not wash your chicken. They have found that washing your chicken can actually spread bacteria all over your kitchen without you even knowing it.
Right, because it splashes.
Yeah. So little droplets that might hit the chicken can start splashing all over the counter or over your backsplash. You might think, okay, I'm going to wash my sink after, but it could end up in spots that you didn't even think of. Cooking your chicken properly is going to kill any sort of harmful bacteria that you have to worry about from washing it, okay? So the one thing that I would do is I always pat it dry, take some paper towel, and I make sure that I do pat the chicken dry. That's just gonna make sure that you get crispier skin as well, so that's always a good thing. But don't wash your chicken, okay? Now, when dealing with chicken, what we wanna do is make sure that it cooks to a safe internal temperature, right? Does anyone probe their chicken when they're cooking at home? Okay, so some people, other people maybe just might be afraid and just way overcook it just to ensure that it is cooked all the way through. That's fine too. But we want to make sure that you're not eating super dry chicken as well. So I'm going to show you a little tip, and this is a great way. Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the chicken up so that it cooks faster and it cooks much more evenly, and it's gonna have less risk of being undercooked because the legs and the breast do cook at sort of different temperatures. And when we're probing them, we want the legs to be at around 175. We want the breast to be at about 165, right? So in its whole form, it's very difficult to get to that point. And so when it's a whole chicken, we always say 180 to make sure that everything is cooked all the way through. Now you're gonna get some dry pieces, but there's a way around that. And so what this is called is spatchcocking. Has anyone heard of that before? No. Okay, you may have seen it before. And what we're gonna do is flip the bird upside down, and we're going to remove the backbone, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to do it. It is super easy. You take kitchen shears, don't use your arts and crafts scissors. Take proper kitchen shears, and we're going to cut along, and you can use this sort of end piece here as a guide, but we're going to cut along the backbone, and you can use a knife as well. And we're going to cut all the way up to the top. So I'm going to make it easier. I'll do about halfway. And then on this side, we're going to go about halfway. Then I will turn it. And you can see I'm using a plate here, a large plate. Another important thing too is avoid cross-contamination. So if you have cutting boards, what I like to do and what I suggest is have a cutting board for just your meats and when you're doing any butchery, and then have a cutting board for any of your cooked products or vegetables or anything like that. And I separated it. I usually don't.
And some people use different colors also just to make it easier for themselves.
So you can see it cut it right out. So cut along the inside, and it's pretty narrow. So if you find that you're cutting and it's not going anywhere, you're probably a little too far to the outside. You do want to bring the scissors in a little bit and make sure that you cut it out. This is super, super flavorful. Don't throw it out. You can save it for chicken stock after. What I do is I stick it in a little Ziploc bag, and once that's filled up, you can make a beautiful chicken stock with that. The tips of the wings as well, I usually cut those off. Those make great stock. They just tend to burn when you cook it, so take those off as well. We might as well. And then we're going to flip the bird back over.
Did you talk about thawing Like if you were to have a frozen chicken?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we just had Thanksgiving, and I'm sure some of you may have been thawing some frozen turkeys. Anytime you do defrost, leftovers, meat, fish, whatever it is, you do want to do that in the refrigerator. Do not leave it out on the counter.
Again, because you're putting it in that danger zone, right?
Yeah, so do it safely. Give yourself enough time, and just do it in the refrigerator.
And you could defrost in the microwave. Just make sure that you're using the setting defrost.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, so took the backbone out, and now what we want to do is flatten it. So legs should be like this, so pointing out, and then you can use 2 hands and press on the breastbone. And what this does is it opens it up, okay? So now this is super flat. This ensures that the legs are going to be cooked evenly in the same time as the breast. That took me like, what, a minute of work? Not even. Really, really easy. But it's going to cook. Now this bird will cook in about 45 minutes to 60 minutes tops. Whereas if it was a whole bird, it would take much, much longer, okay? It's going to also ensure really nice crispy skin on the outside. And it's just a better way to cook. Now, you can find them. I've seen them in grocery stores already done like this. They're already like seasoned, marinated, or you can just make friends with your butcher.
Yeah.
That's always the best way. Get him to do the work for you, or get him or her to do the work for you. And that way it saves you some time at home as well. Okay, so now we're gonna season this up. And Steph, I'm gonna need you to do some work. So can you open, oh yeah.
Let me wash
up. I'm gonna change up here.
Open up fridge.
Okay, so refrigerator, open it up. Now we're gonna season this, and there's gonna be a little jar and a bowl there. Okay. Beautiful. So we're gonna season this, and you could use, olive oil, salt, pepper, whatever you want. This is just a little trick that I found helps to hold the seasoning to the bird much better. And we're gonna use, you're gonna either use like mayonnaise or yogurt, and we're gonna season that and then slather that all over top. And it might seem very strange, but it is absolutely delicious. So to this, we're gonna add some chopped rosemary.
And again, when we're talking about marinating, really good, make sure that you marinate in the fridge, not on the counter.
Yes. We're gonna add some paprika, that's some smoked paprika. Do about half of that. Beautiful.
Okay.
And we're gonna get a lemon, and you're gonna zest it.
Oh, zest it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it matter what kind of yogurt?
No, any plain yogurt, or this I made in aioli. So you can, if you have like mayo in the fridge, whatever condiment like you have, it just helps it stick to the bird a lot better. Beautiful. So we have that really nice seasoned dressing. We're gonna put it on top, and we're just going to rub that all over. You can do this with your hands. I just love these gloves. We're teaching a show here, so try to keep nice and clean. And so that's it. So rub it over. Beautiful. And now you can let this sit in the fridge up to overnight to let that sort of marinate. We don't have overnight, so we're going to cook it right now. On the bottom of your baking tray, you can throw whatever veg you like. You can throw some nice root veg on there. I've done this simply with just a can of white kidney beans. Put it on the bottom, chicken on top. Beautiful. It's delicious. We're going to use some mushrooms, so you can throw that over top, and I just left them pretty whole. One thing about mushrooms I do want to mention, and this is particularly why we used mushrooms, is you may have heard there's some people say they don't wash the mushrooms. They just want to brush the mushrooms. I can tell you that you can absolutely wash mushrooms, and I do suggest you wash mushrooms. They do tend to have dirt and mud on top of them. So what I like to do is just soak them in a nice bowl of water, agitate them a little bit, and then you take them out with a paper towel and you can dry them. Mushrooms are like 95% water to begin with. They will not start to absorb more water into them, especially if the mushrooms don't have gills. So mushrooms like this, these button mushrooms, cremini mushrooms, they don't have gills, they're not going to take in water. Something like an oyster mushroom that does have gills, those will soak in a little bit of water. Okay, so those ones you want to be a little more careful with. But these ones, just wash them as you normally would. I'm gonna throw a whole head of garlic on here as well.
Washed.
Yeah, and do you want to throw just that lemon that you used, zested?
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, just throw it on. There we go. Perfect. Now, the inside of the bird, and I'll mention this quickly as well, because I mean, I know it's a little late. We've already had Thanksgiving, but if you are cooking a whole turkey, a whole chicken, the cavity on the inside, do not stuff that with stuffing. There's, very common cooking technique. You get stuffing and just jam it in the inside. The problem with that is that you're not allowing hot air to circulate inside to cook it evenly. So it's going to take a lot longer for the chicken to cook properly or the turkey to cook properly. And it's going to usually dry out by that point as well. And you might have some food safety issues. So if you want to throw some like herbs in there, maybe half a lemon, give it some nice, aromatics, beautiful, but don't jam it with stuffing. That's the only thing. So that's it. That's beautiful. Looks great. That's going to go into the oven. And I'm cooking this a little bit lower. So I'm going 425 degrees. I'm going a little bit higher here. So 425 degrees, and you want to check it at 45 minutes, okay? Now, when we use a meat thermometer, and I always suggest using a meat thermometer, the breast, you're looking for about 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And for the legs and the thighs, because those do take a little bit longer, you're looking for 175 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And that's when you know that it's good to go. So really, really nice and roasted, really nice caramelization. If you have any of those like lemons and garlics and little treats around, that's gonna be beautiful. And then we're gonna take our probe, just make sure this is clean, and we're gonna go in the thickest part of the bird, like this. And this is going to read, now I cooked this ahead of time, so this is gonna read at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, the thickest part. And then for the legs, go into the thickest part close to where the bone is, but just before it, and that should read around 175, okay? And that's what you want. And that's it.